Phil Spencer is excited for the future of the Xbox with the Xbox handheld. So we'll go over what he says there. This generation coming up with the Nintendo Switch 2, or I guess the next generation for Nintendo, it's going to be very interesting to see the comparisons between the Nintendo Switch 2 and the Xbox Series S, specifically because we saw so much media around the Series S and negativity around it, even though the reality is it's been a decent console. So we have some comparisons there that we will look at. More information about the Oblivion remake. It looks like it is coming. And then we have a lot of stuff to talk about on the Nintendo Switch 2 side of things with the pricing. Lots of information came out yesterday, and we have some more clarity as to kind of what Nintendo is thinking about the way that they are pricing things. So we have all of that to go over, plus a couple of more things after that. But before we do continue, if you enjoy daily gaming news and content, you enjoy updates on everything happening within the gaming industry, 8 a.m. every day, make sure to hit the subscribe button, share the video, like the video. And for now, let's jump into it. So as we know, the future of Xbox is going to include handhelds. We don't know the exact amount. We don't know where they're going to be coming from. We have been teased here from Asus that they are working on something, and we should be getting an announcement, I think, relatively soon about an Xbox branded Asus handheld with an Xbox skin. We've seen some leaks and looks at the UI that they are building that is going to turn those handhelds into a console experience, which I think is going to be a huge thing for how successful the Xbox handhelds are. And Phil Spencer, he's hinted at this. He's talked about the future of Xbox with handhelds, playing your games in more places on different screens, and he seems excited here about the future plans for the Xbox handheld. He was in an interview here with iJustine, and I believe this was having to do with the 50th anniversary and everything that was happening at Microsoft, where we got some stuff from last week. And he talks specifically about Xbox's plans for handheld gaming. He was asked if there's anything exciting coming from Xbox in 2025. Doesn't say exactly what it is, doesn't give us a date or what the product could be, but he does say, we've teased and talked about handhelds, and I'm very excited because we both travel, and sometimes you can't always take your console or your whole gaming desktop with you. So he is saying here that an Xbox handheld is coming. The question everybody has is, will there be the first party iteration of this alongside the Xbox branded handheld PCs that we are seeing here in partnership with Asus and whoever else is going to be jumping in onto this whole Xbox handheld thing? Because I have a feeling there's probably some sort of partnerships that they make where you can get into this program, and if you're a Lenovo or something as well, because they're going ahead and making a Steam OS version, you get certified, it gets brought to you by Xbox. You're going to open that handheld even though it's made by Lenovo or Asus or whatever company that goes out there and makes it, and you're going to have a nice console-like experience, Xbox branded. There'll be an Xbox button and everything on the handheld itself to just give you that full experience. The question that everybody has, though, when it comes to these handhelds, especially from the third-party manufacturers, is, are we going to be able to access our console games on these devices, or is that going to be held only for a first-party Xbox handheld that I also think will be coming with the launch of the next generation of Xbox? They'll give us a handheld, they'll give us that at-home console, and it'll just be a way to expand out that ecosystem. But this is the direction that Xbox, I think, is very smart to be going in, and their competition is going to be kicking up even more here because of the launch and announcement of the Nintendo Switch 2, which is mainly, for a lot of people, a handheld gaming device. That's the majority of time that they play their Switches, is with it in the mobile form factor. And the question that people want to know when it comes to the Switch 2, because we didn't really get too much on the specs other than NVIDIA saying it has DLSS, which I think is great. I think that's going to help the Switch 2 out a lot and give it longevity. It can do ray tracing, and it's 10 times more powerful than the current Nintendo Switch. Where does it put the Nintendo Switch 2 on the graph, I guess you could say, comparatively to something like the Xbox Series S? Because I think that would be the closest competitor in power for the Nintendo Switch 2. Well, we do have some comparisons here for Street Fighter 6, and it fares pretty well here comparatively to the Xbox Series S. This comes via El Analista de Bits on YouTube, who put together a Switch 2 versus Xbox Series S comparison for Street Fighter 6. And he says the default Xbox Series S version does not run textures correctly, although there are several ways to fix it. It is tedious procedure and a bug that Capcom has no intention of fixing. Both versions are shown in this video. In any case, even with the textures corrected, the Switch 2 shows a higher resolution. And goes on here and says, as you can see, it's mentioned the Switch 2 version of Street Fighter 6 shows a higher resolution, and it certainly seems at first glance like it's the better looking edition compared to what we get on the Xbox Series S. And that's pretty impressive. That is, I think, good news here for the Switch 2 going forward. If you're hoping that it is at least in line with something like the Xbox Series S, it could be. I mean, that's only a comparison of one game. This isn't like a official comparison with the hardware in our hands and then looking at the games. I'm sure we will get all of that once the console does release and more information will come out and it'll be far more clear just kind of where the Switch 2 does stack up. But I do believe with the NVIDIA chip in there, the utilization of DLSS, I think the Switch 2 is actually going to do some pretty good things here in terms of being able to play all of the current games that are out there on the market, all of those big AAA games that you're going to be picking up on your Xbox and on your PlayStation 5. So it's going to be a very enticing option for people to, when they go out there and want to buy a console, simply because it also has that portability factor. But it's not going to be better than the Series S or way better in any form. And we did hear developers throughout this generation, not an insane amount, always have to preface it with that because overall the Series S has been good. 99.9% of the games run fine on it. But we did hear complaints about the Series S. I don't think we're going to hear any of those complaints here for the Nintendo Switch 2, simply because it's a more popular console and they have to support it. So something in there is going to be pushing them to make sure that it is running well, optimized well, and people are going to see that these consoles, these lower power devices, the developers absolutely have the ability to optimize for them if they put in the time and resources to do it. And the Switch 2 will be no different. Switch 2 is going to have lots of games that are going to look good. We've already seen games like Cyberpunk running on it that looks pretty good. And overall, the question will be, what's the longevity of it? How much does the NVIDIA chip help in there with DLSS? When newer games are all coming out with Unreal Engine 5, how will the Switch 2 continue to fare with those ones? And I think it'll probably be okay. I think developers are going to take it seriously and make sure that the games are optimized well for the Nintendo Switch 2. All right, Oblivion Remake. I know people are sick of the rumors about this, but we have more corroboration that this game is going to be very, very soon. Released very, very soon, announced very, very soon. All of those things here because we have more corroboration here, specifically from Jeff Grubb, who I believe is a relatively reliable insider with his information. And there's been a bunch of updates on this story, but the most recent one here is that Jeff Grubb has addressed the claim that Oblivion will shadow drop in the next couple of weeks. He said Oblivion is very likely going to drop here pretty soon. He said he has been told it will shadow drop this month. And that is what everybody is saying about Oblivion. All of the insiders who have a good track record of getting things right. So I expect this to happen. To be honest, I expect Oblivion to be shadow dropped out of nowhere by Xbox, maybe with the next Game Pass announcement, or maybe at ESO's event that is coming up. Like all of that could happen, and we could be getting Oblivion Remake shadow dropped, which is insane to add to the current collection of games that we do have on Xbox going into Game Pass day one. And it's also kind of a head scratcher because to me, an Oblivion Remake is a big enough game to want to build up the marketing hype around it, have some deep dives into the gameplay, deep dives into the improvements of it, and just to get people ready and excited to play it when with a release date that they would have announced. So just shadow drop it to me is kind of confusing. I don't know if it'll make a big difference. I'm sure all of the fans out there will still go out and jump in and play it. For people who have never played Oblivion before, maybe have played other Elder Scrolls games, they may not know about it. They may miss it if there isn't a marketing campaign for it. So kind of confusing why they would shadow drop this one, but we'll see how this does. I think it's going to do decent. People are going to jump in and play it, but I'm surprised that they aren't doing more to kind of get the hype surrounding this game up there before they do end up announcing it. And then it'll be interesting to see how they make the announcement. Will it be at the ESO event, or will it be just in like a Game Pass announcement as the big hitter that comes with that set of games that are going to be coming out? All right, let's talk Nintendo Switch 2. We got a lot of information about the Switch 2, more clarification on the pricing, the console pricing, the game pricing, other questions that people have about the Switch 2, such as achievements and if the Switch 1 will still be supported. Lots of interesting stuff here. The Switch 2 is shaping up to be an exciting console, but a console that is going to be continuously surrounded in questions and controversy leading up to the pre-order tomorrow and then to the actual eventual release, which is why I do compare this to the Xbox One announcement, because there are so many questions that people still have. There was a lot of things that were not clear after that initial presentation, and people want these answers, and we're getting them trickled out here days after, a week after they actually gave that official announcement. But the first thing people want to know about, because there's been so much debate about this online, is the price at $450 for the Nintendo Switch 2. Was this thing because of tariffs? Were tariffs baked into this price? Or was this just Nintendo pricing it at that price because they believe that is what it is worth? Doug Bowser came out and addressed this, and he says that the current pricing right now is not because of the tariffs, but everything that's happening at this point, they're still evaluating what they are going to be doing with the Nintendo Switch 2 in the United States, which the reality is him saying that just makes me believe that's kind of PR and they are preparing to raise the price because of everything that is happening. And to come out and say that they already baked in tariffs to the current price, it would look even worse when they do raise a price. That's just kind of the PR side of it that I think. But here is exactly what he says is, but Nintendo of America president Doug Bowser says that tariffs did not directly impact the console's price tag. Says put the April 2nd announcement aside, any previous tariffs were not factored into the price itself. Goes on here to say that the pre-order date, which was set for April 9th, which is currently not there, there's no new pre-order date yet in the States. He says it's to assess the potential impact of tariffs and evolving market conditions. And he asks why here the Switch 2 was so expensive. And he rattles off a list of new console features like the bigger LCD screen, the more powerful internals, the Joy-Con controllers that have been enlarged for redesign and durability, the game chat social layer built into a console, and more, saying we want to make sure that this is a device that is approachable, that consumers will see as part of their overall entertainment experience and will understand that it has longevity in it. And all of those factors really go into the consideration of the price. So that's why the price is the way it is. He's saying the previous tariffs had nothing to do with it, but now they're reevaluating, of course. And to me, what he is saying here, and I hope I'm wrong on this, I really do hope I'm wrong on this, but it does sound like they are setting this up for a price increase of some sort. How much, we don't know, but he's saying it's worth this amount of money, has nothing to do with the tariffs. So they may come out in a few days and say, well, now we have to raise it another $50 because of the tariffs. And you can attribute that however you want. Politically, I don't care. The reality is Nintendo is going to take advantage of the situation, try to make more money off of it, and people are still going to go out and buy it. So they're kind of in the driver's seat. I don't know how much of a price raise will stop this thing from selling well on launch day, at least. And they know this, and they're going to probably take advantage of it. I hope it doesn't happen. Maybe we'll be surprised. Maybe something will happen in the next few days so they don't have to raise the price. That's kind of my hopes around surrounding this, but we will see. It sounds like he is kind of setting this up, though, for a price raise here going forward. The other thing that he talked, what we got information about, was specifically the Nintendo Switch game prices and Mario Kart World, because that has everybody talking. Why is this game $80? It's not worth $80. The Nintendo games generally have lower development costs, and everyone has all these reasons why they don't believe why Mario Kart World shouldn't be $80. And they believe it should be $80. And of course, they're going to stand by their pricing. Again, it's because people are going to buy this thing for $80, whether we like it or not. This is one of the most popular games. And even if you look at Nintendo Switch 1 prices today for a game like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the price is still relatively high. These prices don't adjust, and people will go out and buy these games at high prices 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the road for the current console. But we have this here. IGN spoke with Nintendo of America's Vice President of Product and Player Experience, Bill Trinan, and was asked about the pricing decisions by the company and specifically the $80 for Mario Kart World due to the game's value to players. And here is what Bill Trinan says. I would say it's less about the strategy of pricing Mario Kart World. It's more just whenever we look at the given game, we just look at what is the experience and what's the content and what's the value. But honestly, this is a game that is so big and so vast, you will find so many little things in it to discover. And there's still some other secrets remaining that I think as people end up buying and playing the game, they're going to find this to be probably the richest Mario Kart experience that they have ever had. And then on the topic of Nintendo Switch 2 games charging $80, Trinan also says here that what I would say is that we just look at each individual game and we look at the content and the value of that game, and then we say what is the right price for the value of this entertainment. So there is no set pricing. It sounds like here for Nintendo Switch 2 games, there will be games at $70, there could be games at $60, and then there will be the higher value games at $80. His reasoning behind Mario Kart World being $80 because of the amount of content that is within the game, I don't doubt that. I think this is going to be a big game. I think it is going to be a nice expansion over Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, especially with the open world stuff that they have shown off. But at the same time, there's games that are going to be far bigger than it that have already been out. All of these things. This isn't, don't think, going to be this massive game comparatively to, for example, game I'm playing right now, Assassin's Creed Shadows. Like, I don't think it'll be in that realm whatsoever in terms of the amount of content and value you get for the amount you pay for the game. But they believe that it is worth $80. We will see if this plan backfires or not. I have a feeling when this game does drop and the console does drop, you're going to see a lot of people praising it because Mario Kart is generally very good, especially if you're basing it off of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And maybe some people's sentiments will change, but I don't think this is going to have a huge effect on how well this game does. So I still think people are going to be running out and picking up Mario Kart World with their Nintendo Switch 2. And of course, there is the bundle option, which is going to automatically increase the overall sales of this game. Now, one of the things Nintendo is notorious for is just being behind on some of the features that we do currently have in gaming. I would like to see achievements in Nintendo Switch 2 games because I enjoy them on Xbox and everything. It's not going to be happening. They have confirmed here that there will not be achievements here on the Nintendo Switch 2. This is Talking with Polygon. Again, this is Bill Trinan. And the question was about the achievements, and he had just a firm answer. He says, nope. So there are no achievements coming over. However, there are some hope for some achievements because it was revealed in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and the Tears of the Kingdom that they would have them, but this is via the Nintendo Switch app as opposed to the system itself. So I don't see why they wouldn't just bring those achievements that are in the app itself into the game. Like, I don't think it's that hard to develop a pop-up on the screen when you go through and get some achievements within these games. Kind of a weird thing, kind of a backwards thing in my mind to keep that all to the app, but they may have some analytics of some sort of why this would be bad for their specific platform. Maybe it has to do with the age range of consumers that use it, with the much younger crowd, maybe the much older crowd. Who knows? I don't know why Nintendo wouldn't, other than they just always lag behind a long time before they do eventually implement these features. Like, for example, the game chat. They're selling this as something new when it is generations behind from stuff that we already have on the market in the console space already, with just party chats and sharing your screen and things like that. So no achievements though, if you were looking for that from the Nintendo Switch 2. And if the Nintendo Switch 2, you don't want one, it's too pricey, you're not going to try to get one anytime soon, well, they will continue to support the Switch one, which is a no-brainer because there's over 100 million of those units sold, and it could end up being the best-selling console of all time. But Doug Bowser does reiterate that the company will support the original Nintendo Switch following the release of the Switch 2. This is an interview here with the Washington Post, and here is what he says. What I would say is that we'll continue to observe consumers and how they engage and enter into the platform at various levels to try to really understand what the future may look like. Here's the other point. We have an install base for the Switch of 150 million plus units. We'll probably announce more on May 8th when we have our next earnings call. We want to keep those players engaged. Not all of them may be ready to jump to the Switch 2. And then goes on here and says Pokemon Legends ZA and Metroid Prime 4 will both be released on the original Switch, specifically saying hopefully with time and with the right games, it'll be compelling for them to want to continue with the Nintendo Switch 2. We know there's a group of consumers that will be absolutely ready on day one to come onto the platform. And he's right about that. The Nintendo Switch 2 is going to sell out, and it's going to sell out fast when the pre-orders go up all around the world, regardless of the pricing. We're already seeing people trying to scalp their pre-orders. I believe UK versions that were already pre-ordered going up, and scalpers are trying to get more money for them. And will those sell? Who knows? Hopefully not, because that just makes things worse for people who actually want to get the console itself. But the Switch 2 is going to sell it very fast, and it's going to have, I think, a very strong first year, even with all of the pricing complaints that we are seeing online, which is why I don't think they're going to back down from these pricings. And I don't think we're going to see a Nintendo 3DS thing here where they came out a few months later or so, slash the pricing of the 3DS because they had overpriced it. But based off of how successful the Nintendo Switch is, the Nintendo Switch 2 being just an iteration of it, I think it will do well. The thing with the 3DS was that was kind of a brand new feature that I don't think a lot of people had bought into yet, with the whole 3D factor added to it. The Switch 2 is essentially just a spec upgrade from the Nintendo Switch 1 with a bigger screen and some bigger Joy-Cons. So it's an easy transition for a lot of people who potentially are playing games right now on their current Switch and are getting annoyed of the lack of performance that it is providing. But Switch One will be supported for a while. I wonder if on May 8th, when he says they're going to have some more to announce on that, is the announcement going to be that they are really close or overtaking the PS2 as the best selling console of all time? And if they do make that announcement, I wonder if PlayStation and Sony are going to go into their basement and find more sales for the PS2. That would be kind of a funny thing to see and go back and forth. All right, Final Fantasy IX. The remake is seemingly being teased here by Square Enix, and I don't even think this is the first time, but this is cool. I do hope this game happens. When they were showing off Bravely Default, there's a funny compilation of the amount of people that thought that that was Square Enix's announcement for Final Fantasy IX, and the pure disappointment after it was just Bravely Default. So this will be huge if this announcement comes out. You know it'll make waves and it will sell very, very well. But there's a new post here from Square Enix on Twitter, and it features a quote from the ending sequence of the Final Fantasy IX remake. It says, "My memories will be part of the sky." The image was accompanied by a caption, and it says, "If you know, you know," with a crying emoji. So here is the actual post itself for anybody out there, which is, I think, a direct tease here for Final Fantasy IX. And though I will see this with the 25th anniversary stuff coming up, like I think we will definitely see this made. The reality is Final Fantasy VII remake is a success, and I think they'll just go along those lines again, probably release it in different parts. And hopefully, and I'm sure it will, this one will be a multi-platform release, so everybody gets to play it at the same time. Finally, Bungie is going to be showing off the first marathon gameplay this week, and there's been a bunch of stuff on social media, teasers from influencers, packages going out, and here is what is going on here. A teaser posted to the firm's social media platforms confirmed that new information about the game will be shared during its marathon gameplay reveal showcase on Saturday. And the stream will be held on Twitch and begin at 10 a.m. Pacific, so 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And they say alongside this, several members of the media and content creators have teased that they have visited Bungie to learn more about the game, suggesting a wave of coverage will follow the reveal on Saturdays. So this is big, and this is a game coming out everywhere, and it's even bigger for Sony because they need a game like this to hit. It is Bungie, so I think there's that already. You have Bungie fans, they're already going to be looking forward to this, all the people from Destiny, but they need a game like this to hit simply because they need a multiplayer games as a service game to do well for them. After Concord's failure, after all the games that they have canceled, I think Marathon in their minds is an easy cash in, one that they are banking on doing well. If this game doesn't do well, PlayStation could be in trouble here, at least from trying to get something out there to bring them that reoccurring revenue from the games itself, not the one and done single player experiences that they do have. We'll see. I'm interested in seeing what this game is all about, how it plays, and and one to see if it's one that I would be interested in jumping into. But I'm gonna end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video.
We'll be right back.